The story is set in a time when the Earth's oxygen content has shrunk drastically due to the destruction of all vegetation. No plants can survive on the ground anymore. In this desperate situation, only a handful of humans are still able to survive, relying on oxygen cylinders to stay alive. One of them was Darius, a scientist, who was seen communicating remotely with his father. His father was on a quest, collecting valuable objects from the ruins of an old civilization. But during the search, his father accidentally fell into a crevice that caused his breathing apparatus to fall off. He panicked and struggled to put it back on.
Oxygen level back to breathing support system compromised. Oxygen level compromised.
Unfortunately, the remaining oxygen was insufficient and his life was not saved. The death left Darius in deep sadness. The story then moves to the armored bunker, a sanctuary that is now home to Darius, his wife Maya, and their daughter Jorah. Their lives depend entirely on an oxygen generator that runs continuously, using electricity as its power source. Soon after, Darius returns from outside and with a heavy face breaks the sad news to his family. His father, Jorah's grandfather, has passed away.
Do you really have to go?
With a sad tone, Darius said that before he died, his father had made a wish that his body be buried next to the grave of his wife, who had died earlier. The problem was that the public cemetery was located about 8 kilometers from where they lived. That's not too far normally, but in a dangerous environment like this, the journey could mean life. Oxygen cylinders could run out on the way, or worse, they could run into other survivors who might try to snatch their oxygen cylinders. Nevertheless, having made a promise, Darius insists on fulfilling his father's last request no matter what it takes.
You're not. Oh, absolutely not. It's a 7-hour trek.
That night, as Maya and Jorah were drifting off to sleep, Darius suddenly woke up in a state of panic after realizing the harsh reality. The oxygen generator he had designed could only last for another 2 months if used to sustain the lives of 3 people at once. This was because daily oxygen consumption was out of balance with the amount produced by the machine. The only way to extend the life of the generator was to reduce the number of occupants, meaning, someone would have to leave and never return. In his mind, Darius realized that if he left the bunker, it would probably still be able to provide enough oxygen for his wife and daughter to live for the next 5 months. Five months passed since Darius left to bury his father. However, he never returned. Maya and Jorah continued to live in the bunker, which had been equipped with modern amenities, from flat-screen televisions, to cooking equipment, to enough food and water to last for years to come. Despite living in isolation, Jorah tried to keep her spirits up. Almost every day, she sits in front of an open-channel radio, voicing her heart to herself, hoping that somehow her father is still alive out there and hears her longing messages.
Would have to be crazy. Too bad he wasn't.
Meanwhile, Maya, who knows that the soil is no longer as fertile as it once was, is still trying to grow some plants in the small yard in front of the bunker. She refuses to give up on the situation and tries to create new hope, even though it is unlikely. One day, while Maya and Jorah were having a casual conversation outside the bunker, 2 strangers suddenly appeared with guns. Quickly, Maya pulled Jorah into hiding behind a car parked near the entrance.
Come on.
One of the foreign survivors was seen climbing the roof of the bunker, trying to find an entry point. In the stressful situation, Maya managed to take over the weapon of one of them and quickly went back inside the bunker for cover. Everything was captured by the surveillance camera. Before long, the 2 strangers introduced themselves through the camera. The woman was named Tess, while her friend who had climbed onto the roof was called Lucas. They claimed that they had no malicious intentions, just wanted to meet peacefully. In fact, Maya and Jorah were surprised when Tess stated that she was an old friend of Darius when she was in university. The purpose of Tess and Lucas' visit was to see Darius' oxygen generator in action, with the hope of making a copy or replica.
At Temple University. I'm so sorry to hear about Darius.
Tess explained that they came from a shelter in the Philadelphia area, where the oxygen generators were in such a state of disrepair that they could no longer fulfill the needs of many people. So, they came with the hope of learning how Darius' generator works and creating a similar version for the survival of their community. Tess explained in detail how the Darius oxygen generator worked that they wanted to learn about. After that, she and Lucas promised to leave the place immediately. Faced with this stressful situation, Maya as both a mother and the figure at the helm of the household must make a wise decision, whether to provide assistance or let them go and let the many people in their shelter die slowly from lack of oxygen. Maya was torn. On the one hand, Tess seems very convincing. She knows a lot about Darius, understands the details of his creation generator, even knows the name of Jorah, his daughter. This suggests the possibility that Tess really is Darius' old college friend. On the other hand, Maya remains wary. What if Tess and Lucas have a hidden agenda to seize the bunker and control all the resources inside?
Oh, you're not just trying to get up in our space.
Because you have my word.
After careful thought, Maya finally agrees to give Tess and Lucas a chance to see the generator firsthand. But as a precautionary measure, because Maya doesn't fully trust them, she decides to tie the two guests with ropes so that their movements are limited and they can't do anything careless. But just when the two of them were about to be taken into the bunker, a third figure suddenly appeared. As a result, Tess and Lucas failed to enter, while Maya and Jorah managed to catch the man. He introduced himself as Mika, their friend who was assigned to watch from a distance. Apparently, Mika misunderstood. He thought Tess and Lucas were in danger when he saw them tied up, so he hurriedly came to their rescue. This misunderstanding is what makes the situation worse. Maya, who had initially begun to open up, now became suspicious again and assumed the trio had evil intentions to take over the bunker. Knowing Maya won't let them in, Tess finally agrees to go along with Lucas' notoriously rude and reckless plan. Lucas began using a battery-powered electric drill to break into the bunker's steel door. Maya, who realized this action, panicked and was overwhelmed, but thanks to the help of Jorah, who kept thinking clearly, the two of them finally found a solution to thwart Lucas' efforts, by electrocuting the drill machine using an electric shock device. Unfortunately, their efforts don't end there. Tess climbs onto the roof of the bunker and closes the carbon dioxide drain, which will slowly cause lethal gas poisoning for anyone inside the bunker. Maya realizes that they don't have much time. If they didn't get out soon, they could die from dirty air poisoning. Maya finally had no choice but to get out of the hideout. Maya had previously ordered that Mika be kept tightly guarded inside the bunker to prevent her from escaping. Meanwhile, Lucas was tasked with watching the main door.
Warning.
Come on.
Suffocation imminent.
Oh my God.
However, Lucas' focus was instantly broken when the garage door opened automatically, giving Maya a free exit. Quickly, Maya climbed onto the roof of the nearest building, utilizing her high position to shoot at Tess and Lucas. But Tess was not an easy person to defeat. She devised another cunning plan. This time, she had Lucas run in another direction to distract Maya. When Maya was tempted to target Lucas, Tess immediately followed her to the roof and managed to immobilize Maya with a quick and unexpected move. At about the same time, Mika, who was originally bound, managed to free herself. She then reversed the situation by tying Jorah to the table, leaving both of them, Maya and Jorah, in a very cornered position. They had no choice but to obey Tess and her group's orders. Things get even worse when Mika finally breathes her last due to the gunshot wound she sustained in the previous incident. This loss makes the atmosphere in the bunker even more tense. And to make matters worse, Maya can't re-enter the bunker because the main door can only be opened using a pass, which she doesn't have.
It's tighter, and if you want to save her...
Maya could only see her daughter bound and unable to help. Maya began to rack her brains for a way out. She remembered that Darius, her husband who was probably dead and buried in a public cemetery, still had a spare pass. So with determination, Maya and Tess decided to go there using an electric car, Tesla maybe, while Lucas was assigned to remain on guard in the bunker. Upon arriving at the cemetery, Maya managed to find her husband's body, lying frozen next to the graves of her father and mother. Although her heart wanted to cry, Maya knew she didn't have time to grieve. She quickly grabbed the pass Darius had kept, hoping to return soon and save Jorah. But a new problem arose: their electric car ran out of power. With Maya's injured leg and difficult terrain, getting back to the bunker quickly became impossible. In the midst of despair and guilt, Maya finally decided to entrust the pass to Tess. With a heavy sigh, she handed over the pass while hoping that Tess would actually return and rescue Jorah from the bunker. A few hours later, Tess finally returned to the bunker, this time with Lucas. Once inside, Jorah immediately asked how her mother was doing. Tess explained that Maya was still at the cemetery, but she promised to pick her up after completing an inspection of Darius' oxygen generator design. But after a few minutes of studying the system, Tess, who is actually a scientist, started to get confused. She was stuck in a technical impasse, as it turned out that the generator's mechanism was extremely complex, not easily replicable, and entirely Darius' exclusive creation. There wasn't a single part that she could fully understand, let alone replicate. Seeing that Tess was getting frustrated, Lucas urged her to keep trying, hoping that Tess would be able to master the system. But at that point, Tess finally came clean. She and Darius were not old friends, and had never even known each other.
I don't know him. I lied. I did. I swear to God, I did.
The truth was, for 5 months after her disappearance, Zora had been pouring her heart out over the open radio channel, discussing their daily lives, including the oxygen generator that had been their savior. Without realizing it, Tess had been listening to the channel secretly for a long time. And that's how she came up with the idea, to target and try to replicate Darius' technology, eventually bringing Lucas and Mika to this bunker in hopes of stealing the technology. Now that Tess's lies have been exposed, Lucas feels cheated. He had traveled a long way, leaving more than 20 people in an oxygen-deprived shelter for a false promise that could not be kept. His disappointment was palpable, especially as the distance back to where they had come from was long and almost impossible.
Information that I thought I could use because I really thought...
However, when he saw the well-equipped and safe conditions of the bunker, Lucas began to change his mind. He considered staying in that place forever. Moreover, Jorah was still alive and the only one who could fix the generator if it broke down at any time. So he decided to keep Jorah alive for the sake of their future safety. On the other hand, Maya, who was left behind in the cemetery, is still alive. She uses the solar panel to recharge her electric car. As she waited, her eyes fell on a small plant growing from the ground. The sight sparked hope. Could it be that the oxygen on Earth had started to return to normal? With half-hearted conviction, Maya removed her oxygen mask, trying to breathe in the free air. But her hopes were soon dashed. The air she breathed in still didn't contain enough oxygen, making her claustrophobic. Quickly, she put her mask back on, realizing that the Earth had not really recovered, and her journey was not over yet. Maya immediately started her electric car, hoping to have a full charge so she could return to the bunker as soon as possible. At the same time, Lucas was preparing to eat some canned food, when suddenly the generator failed. The problem was caused by an old solar panel that was having problems, something that happens all the time. Jorah was asked to check the solar panel by himself.
Power restored.
After a while, she manages to fix it, and to her surprise, she sees her mother Maya finally returning safely, driving a fully charged electric car. But a new obstacle arises: the bunker access card is still in Lucas' hands. Without it, they couldn't get in. So a cunning plan was hatched to lure Lucas out. First, Jorah pretended to beg Lucas to open the bunker door. But after considering it, Lucas chose to leave them outside, thinking that living alone in the bunker was the best option. Suddenly, the generator has a problem again. The situation forces Lucas to go out to check it himself. When he comes out, Jorah pretends to faint on the ground, and Lucas puts on a fake sad expression, as if he's sorry. But at that moment, Maya and Jorah move quickly into the bunker. Following Lucas, who soon makes it back in. But the situation inside the bunker took a critical turn. There was an excess of oxygen in the air, creating extreme conditions. A single spark could trigger a massive explosion. Maya and Jorah immediately fled outside, and in a state of panic, they locked Lucas inside the bunker. Confined with no way out and realizing that there was no hope of survival, Lucas finally chose the tragic path, firing his own weapon.
Warning, red alert. Warning, red alert.
With heavy hearts but still needing to survive, Maya and Jorah continue their journey to Philadelphia using an electric car. There, they search for one of the subway stations, according to the address Tess had mentioned. But the challenge returned, their oxygen supply was limited. As they traveled down the long, dark underground passageway, their breathing began to become labored. Eventually, both began to lose consciousness, staggering weakly in the midst of an unfinished struggle. Luckily, Maya and Jorah were eventually found and rescued by a group of people living in a shelter. When they woke up, Jorah was seen to have woken up first, and seemed to be busy repairing and improving the performance of the oxygen generator so that it could last longer and be stable. As time goes by, oxygen levels on Earth slowly begin to return to normal. This became a new hope for mankind. They also began to plant various types of plants as a first step to rebuilding the civilization that had collapsed.
But tomorrow belongs to those who plan for it today.
All have an important role in the survival of life on Earth. Biodiversity, both flora and fauna, is an invaluable asset. If we don't preserve and protect it, who will? The movie closes with a verdant sense of hope, but it also has a deep message of conflict and misunderstanding. Almost all of the tragedies in this movie stem from small misunderstandings that develop into big conflicts and ultimately cost lives, as experienced by Tess and her colleagues. That's all for this movie discussion. Thank you very much for watching until the end. I hope you enjoyed the story. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss other interesting videos. See you in the next video.